Hi everyone! So I'm finally getting around to filming my FTIsland collection video. And now that Planet Bombs, which was their latest Japanese full-length album, has been out for quite a while, I finally found some time to sit down and film this video. So in this video I decided to change things up. Previously I did a collection video for 2 p.m. which was a really long video, and I didn't really have enough time to go into specifics of which albums I really loved and give recommendations. And for FTIsland, they do have quite a intimidating discography if you are new to them or you haven't really delved into both their Korean and Japanese releases. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to give some insight of what my favorites are and provide some suggestions for which albums I think are worth checking out. So I'll begin with their Korean discography, which they've been around for 10 years in Korea. Their 11th anniversary will be coming up very soon. So there are quite a few releases that they've had. So I plan to go through these chronologically, though I'm probably going to spend less time on the earlier things because I tend to prefer their newer music. So we'll start off with their debut album, which is Cheerful Sensibility. And I do have the price tag here actually for how much it cost when it came out. And you really can't find this album for this price anymore. From a collector standpoint, out of all of FTIsland's things, this is the hardest thing to obtain for a reasonable price. You're definitely going to have to use a Japanese proxy site like Sun Market to get your hands on this. This is their debut album, and this is when they had Wonbin as their member before Singhyun joined. And when it comes to the music, let's see if there's a track list here. I admit I don't really listen to a lot of these songs. I of course listen to Lovesick, which is the iconic FTIsland song. Other than that, I think I do like Let's Go FTIsland. It's kind of a cheesy song, but I do like it. And Prima Donna is iconic too because that's the fandom name. But really, if you are not a hardcore Prima Donna or FTIsland collector, you probably could go without this album in your collection. That said, they do have a repackaged album, which is much easier to obtain in comparison. And they do have a few extra tracks. My copy is a little beat up, as you see here. Packaging wise, it's not too interesting. You have just a jewel case in here with some postcards. But it's nice to have some of these older FTIsland, I guess, relics, we could almost call them. And again, you have the same track list as what was on Cheerful Sensibility, and they do have a few new songs. Honestly, I don't really listen to the new songs on here. I've been meaning to actually go back and listen to FTIsland's older discography to see if there's any songs that I probably should add to my playlist. But I haven't felt too inclined to do that because, as I'll get into later, their sound really changed with their more recent albums. Next is another semi-difficult album to find, at least for a reasonable price. And so this is their Colorful Sensibility, and it's their second full-length album. And this one is a little bit easier to find used, of course, especially on proxy sites. And the packaging is kind of cool. It's in this plastic case with all these individual colored fold-outs, in a way, I guess you could call them. And song-wise, they do have a track list, but it's in yellow, so it's a little hard to read on here. And I only really listened to, I think it's No More Love, I think is the song title. That's the one that's currently on my phone's playlist. So that's the one song I kind of listened to from this. And then here we have the last Korean album with Wonbin in it. And so this is their Colorful Sensibility Part 2. Oh, my copy is really beat up. But this just has a few extra songs on here, which I admit I don't really listen to these. I bought this more for collection purposes. The next here we have Jump Up, which is when Singhen finally joined. And this, packaging wise, it's kind of interesting. So you get like this folder thing, and this is when they started doing random member things. And so you get a random member cutout, I want to call it. It's like in the shape of a coaster, so you can pop this out if you wanted to. I have Jonghyun's because he is my bias in FTIsland. And you do get like a photo book, and it's all stored in this little folder. And the title track for this, I believe it's, I forget the translation, I think it's Bad Lady or Bad Woman. I do really like. This is, again, FTIsland, their title tracks in Korea, especially in their early days, were more ballads influenced, or more of those rock power ballads, where Hongyu really kind of showcases his vocals. But they're all very sad, mopey songs. And so I do like that song. I don't really listen to the other tracks on here as much. And then this one is their third full-length album, Cross and Change. And this is when they started to go a bit more pop, especially in their title tracks. So this has I Hope as the title track, which is really catchy, though I think FTIsland, they don't really like playing this song because it's not really their style, especially not now. But packaging wise, it's really fun to look at these older photo books in the styling eras, especially for second gen groups. It's just kind of funny sometimes to look back on it. And track list wise, I do like listening to I Hope, even though I do know FTIsland kind of hates that song. And I do like the first track, Bing Bing Bing, which is just kind of a catchy, nonsensical song that I do like having on my FTIsland playlist. And then I think it's track 6 I also really like, which is more of, I think, a slower song. And they also had a repackage for Cross and Change called Double Date. And so this is the Taiwanese press, which is not that different, I don't think, from the Korean press of this. It's really hard to find the Korean press for this, which I'll go into more Taiwanese versus Korean press later. But track list wise, there's 2 parts to here. You have the One Date, which has a lot of songs from the Cross and Change album. And then you also have 2 Date here, which is FTIsland's only subunit that they've really gone into, FT Triple. So this has Jaejin, Jonghyun, and Inwon. And I do like, I believe it's Love Letter is the title for their, when they're promoting this. Otherwise, I don't really listen to their other songs. It would be cool if they revisited this. I don't really see them doing that. However, now on to Beautiful Journey, which is their second mini album. This is the Korean press here, which it's easier to find the Taiwanese press. And this is the first time when their albums came with photo cards. And it's kind of a nice photo book where you watch them kind of go on this little travel with this little trailer and car. I don't know. But there's this, and I do like the title track, Love Love Love, which I'm sure FT doesn't really like playing that nowadays, but it is a catchy song. And to talk briefly about their Japan special album, this is a special release they had that has the Korean versions for some of their indie Japanese songs that they released while promoting in Japan. And so this is right before they released Flower Rock, which is the song that sort of made FTIsland a lot more mainstream in Japan. And so it's interesting kind of hearing these songs, especially the Korean versions of them. And there's a nice little photo book for that. But I'll get more into their Japanese discography later. And then next we have The Return, which is their third mini album. And they released another very pop rock song, Hello Hello, which is fun and catchy. Not really FTIsland's style anymore, but it is something that's fun, especially when it comes up on your shuffle. And this is the Korean press version, but I think it's identical to the Taiwanese press, which is easier to find. And I think the Taiwanese press just comes with an extra magnet. But yeah, I do like this little compact package they have here. And then this is their cover album. So they released a few songs with their own versions on here, which was, I thought, kind of cool. Honestly, I don't really listen to any of these songs except Like the Birds. I really like that song a lot. Hongi actually did a cover on Rock Bros. If you caught their YouTube videos that they were doing when he was in Turkey. And that was really fun to see him and some other veteran Korean rock guys do. And then with Grown Up, they're back to doing their more signature ballad or power ballad songs, and I really love the title track Severely. I think it's one of my favorite power ballads from FTIsland. Creek. And you get a nice little photo book with this. And when it comes to the other tracks, I kind of only just listen to Severely, to be honest. And then after all of those many albums, we finally have their fourth full-length album, 5 Treasure Box. And this is when they're promoting with I Wish. And I think if you really like more pop rock, this is a great album to start with, since I Wish and a few other songs on here are much more pop influenced. So I think this is a perfect place to start if that's more of your style. They also have a few Korean versions of some of their Japanese songs, like Paper Plane and Compass and Life and Let It Go, which was nice to see, especially because I really do like basically all their Japanese songs. And then the package is kind of cool too, because you have a bunch of cards of the members in these little boxes. And this is their Thanks To mini album. So this is what they released for their 6th anniversary. And I honestly love all these songs. Memory, which I think was intended to be a Hongi solo song, but they decided to release it as FTIsland. It's a beautiful song. I really love it. And Falling Star, Try Again, Always With You are also solid songs from them. And I do like the photo book in this. Very, very cute. Then next we have here The Mood, which is another mini album. It's their 5th mini album. And song-wise, I don't really listen to this as much. I do like Siren though. But packaging is really cool. I kind of like the look of this. And the photo book's nice too, though there's some wasted space, I think, on the left. They could have incorporated more pictures instead of those lines, which I don't know if they're meant for like notes or something. So this is the Korean version. They also released a Taiwanese version, which is slightly different packaging wise, as you see here. And it does come with a bonus magnet. This is another Japanese best of album, but with the Korean versions. And so here they have a lot of their favorite Japanese songs, but the Korean versions that they originally wrote. And I really do like, again, hearing the Korean versions for a lot of these. I kind of like them equally, the Japanese versions and the Korean versions, to be honest. I think FTIsland is one of those groups that is very versatile in producing music in both languages. And when it comes to the photo book, it's kind of an interesting setup. Since you have some black and white photos, and then you have these photos where they have all these projections of pictures from their concerts on them. Alright, so now we're getting into what I like to call the Holy Trinity when it comes to FTIsland's Korean discography. So this is the shift they had in their music when they took a lot more control of what music they put out in Korea. And they start with their I Will album, which is probably my favorite album from FTIsland. It's very sentimental to me, especially because it's an album that meant so much to FTIsland and their fans. And it was also my first official comeback with them in Korea. So it meant a lot to me. So there's two different versions you could get. So this is the regular version, which I did get on M-Wave. This was, I think, the first album I bought on M-Wave. It's Jaden signed. And we have some nice photos in here, which is kind of similar to what they did for the All About album, but a bit crisper. And then they also released later a special edition. So this is a much larger album with photos taken while they were in Paris, and I love this photo book. It's probably my favorite photo book of theirs, and I'm really happy they put this out. But let's go back to the other one since the track list is much clearer to read. And I just say this is my favorite FTIsland album they released, so I of course love all the songs on here. So the title track on here was Pray, which was a very hard rock song that they've never really done in Korea. So I think it did surprise a lot of people, especially if they haven't listened to their Japanese albums. But favorite songs, I really love BPM 69, as well as Black Chocolate, and To the Light is probably my favorite FTIsland song, though they did release it in Japan initially. So there are a few songs on here that are Korean versions of Japanese songs, like To the Light, Time To, as well as a few others. So if you're new to FTIsland and you haven't really explored much of their Korean discography, but you've liked a few of their recent releases, either Pray or Take Me Now, or even Wind, I Will is probably the best place to start when it comes to their discography. Now moving on to their sixth full-length album, Where's the Truth? Again, there are two different versions here. This is a signed promo, and then this is one I got from M-Wave. The photo books are the only difference. As you see here, I'll just flip through them quickly. I think photo book wise, I do like this version more, the false version. But track list wise, I think FTIsland did it again with creating a very dynamic and interesting track list on this from start to finish. Though out of all of their albums, I think this is the most experimental one, since they do go into some other genres along with their signature hard rock sound that they've really been embracing within the past few years in Korea. Take Me Now was their title track, which I really love. It's a very metal influenced song, but I really love their other songs like Out of Love and Lose, as well as some of their more softer ballad songs like Stand By Me. I think is really stunning. And at last but not least is their Over 10 Years album. So this is what they released for their 10th anniversary last year. And when it comes to this album, I think this is the perfect balance between who FTIsland is now and who FTIsland was before they released I Will. So it's really balancing the power ballads that they did in their earlier days with more of that harder rock sound that they've really come into in recent years. I really love, again, this entire track list. Wind was the title track, which kind of starts off as a very slow ballad, but then builds up to something much harder. So I think that song really describes the evolution of FTIsland, and it's really, I think, a great title track that they've released. But their other songs are a lot of fun too. I think Voice is maybe my favorite, though I really do like a lot of the other songs like Parade and The Night. So those are their harder rock songs, and then for their slower songs, they do have Save Me and Still With You, a few others. The Wood is beautiful. It's, I think, the perfect way to end an album. And really, I think you can't go wrong with any of the songs on this. So I did get this from Emily, which is why it's signed. And I really love this photo book. I like the styling, as well as the filters I guess they used on the pictures. I think it made them all look really great. So that was all for their Korean discography, which I've talked about in length. But to summarize, their earlier releases, you tend to see a lot more power ballads as well as a lot more pop rock tracks. And it wasn't until their I Will album when they started exploring more of their harder rock sound that they really come into in recent years. And I think the sound that they'll continue on doing for quite a while. So it'll be interesting to see what they choose to do with their next Korean album, which they're currently working on. But it's going to be something more like these last 3 albums. I'm not sure if they'll go with the more power ballad title track like they did for over 10 years. I have a feeling it's going to be something in between Take Me Now and Pray. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Alright, so this is FTIsland's full-length Japanese albums. And they have released a lot more singles, which I'll briefly mention after this, but when it comes to their music, most of their previous released Japanese singles are all on their full-length Japanese albums, with the exception of usually one song per single, which again, I'll talk about later. But when it comes to collecting or just buying their albums for the music, really you could go no wrong with buying the full-length albums. So there are various versions you could buy. Like most Japanese releases, they always come with different editions with different bonuses and whatnot. So I'll briefly explain what those are here. So this is their first full-length Japanese album, So Long Au Revoir. And it only came in this jewel case version. So you see here, but there are 12 tracks, most of which are songs they released on previous singles. But it does have this nice little drawing that Jonghyun made of FTIsland, and I do have a Singhyun signed one that I got off of a Japanese auction site. And a lot of these songs are nice to listen to. I think in particular I really like Raining, I Believe Myself, and those are usually the ones I mostly listen to. And then their next album is Treasure Island. So this has a lot more of their more mainstream Japanese songs, including Flower Rock, which they kind of consider as their debut. It's not technically their debut, but that's what made them popular in Japan and made them more mainstream. But then you have Satisfaction, Brand New Days, So Today, and all those tracks are singles that you could find along with a few B-sides from the singles. But then they have a few more extra songs like Rock and Roll, Boom Boom Boom, Music Life, Friends, and Treasure. And so for their early Japanese music, it's a bit more pop influenced, but it does go harder than what they were doing in Korea at the time. So I do like all these songs. They're just a lot more kind of fun, catchy ones that are a little bit, have that nostalgic appeal whenever they pop up on my shuffle. And so this is the CD only version. And they also released a CD DVD version. And I believe there's another CD DVD version. So this one has a music video while the other one has some other content. And this is before I think they were doing their fan club versions. I will have a, I will include my spreadsheet of all their releases down in the description. So if I say something wrong, just please refer to that for the exact details of what releases are available. And then quickly, this is their best recommendation for Japan. So kind of like what they did in Korea, they took a lot of their Korean songs and put them on here for their Japanese fans to listen to. They do have some special tracks here, which is interesting. Like the new version for FTIsland and Prima Donna, as well as a clean version for Dollar Rock. Moving on to 20. So this is, I think, their more chill, or their more slow, I guess, full-length album. And I did mention how a lot of these songs were on their 5 Treasure Box album, which they released in Korea. Like Compass, Paper Planes, Life, I think, and a few others, like Let It Go. I really do like, again, all these songs. Honestly, there are very few FTIsland and Japanese songs that I don't like. But this is when they started to do their deluxe packaging for version A. So, along with this kind of digipack for CD, DVD, they had these nice photo books, which is really nice to see from Japanese releases. Not too many groups would have releases with this thick of photo books. And it's kind of cute how they made this into like a frame. And then for whatever reason, they kind of went back to the jewel cases for their limited version A full-length albums. So Rated FTIsland, it's one of my favorite releases from them. It has a lot of great upbeat songs, as well as some really great ballads. Like, I really love Beautiful World, Polar Star, and really I just like this entire track list again, which will be the theme, I think, throughout most of this. Yeah, it comes with a jewel case and just a mini extra photo book. Quickly get out of this sleeve. I do like the styling for this, it's a lot of fun. Here they have this external photo book, and they have this jewel case with a small photo book, and then the CD here. So for this release, I could show you guys the differences in all the different versions for all these. So I just showed you guys the version A. So this is the deluxe CD DVD version, which usually comes with a nice photo book. You see these versions here. And then for the other versions, they are all usually in jewel cases. And so there's another limited CD DVD version B. So oftentimes, none of the track list is different from any of these versions. It's usually the bonus material that's different. So the DVD I came in with this one. It's usually music videos or making of videos, and then for version B you usually get some live footage or some solo angles from their concerts, which makes the version B worth getting if you like watching that, and you have a DVD player that could play Region 2 DVDs. Otherwise, you could just get the regular version, which just has all the songs, and it's much cheaper than all the other ones, and it's usually the ones that are easier to find. And when it comes to photo card collecting, it wasn't until recently that they started putting photo cards in all their editions. Previously, it was just the CD-only versions, like with Rated FT. And now this version is the special fan club version. So Family Mart and some other stores allowed you to buy their fan club editions. This is before their fan club stuff was sold directly from their fan club website. And so this is called technically the Family Mart edition, or Famima edition, while the more recent releases, the fan club versions, were called the Prima Donna editions. And so this one just has a different DVD with some more special live and documentary footage. And now here we have New Page, which I think is a fan favorite for a lot of people, and I don't blame them for that at all, because the track list on here is great. I like, again, all the songs on here, and it does have a few of my favorite singles too. And again, this is the deluxe CD DVD version A. So in addition to the digipack with CD DVD, you could get a lyrics book, as well as a photo book. And then for New Page, I also have their Prima Donna edition. So this comes with some special footage of them talking about the release. It doesn't have English subtitles, so I don't really watch it. But I also have the version B, which is a version I think very worth getting, because it comes with some great live footage here from their Summer Sonic 2013 concert. The next is their 5 Go album. Again, I just have version A because this is the preferred version I like getting. And this is a special album for me because I would say arguably this is my favorite out of all the Japanese things. Though I think part of that is because it has my favorite song, To the Light, on it. As well as some other songs I love, like Tornado and Hourglass, and more, of course. And this is also my first Japanese comeback with them. So, album means a lot, so this is lyrics with some extra pictures, the photo book, and the digipack. Now we have NWU here, which has a lot of great songs on it as well. I think the standouts for me is definitely Aqua, and I really love Cycle, which was on their which was on their Puppy single that they had previously. And this is when they started not to have so many prior single releases before their full-length albums. So you don't have a lot of singles that were previously on here. So just Puppy and Cycle are the only, I guess, old songs. Everything else is new for this particular album. And I guess also that was the case with 5 Go. Sorry, I'm backtracking. To the Light was the only single that they released prior to this album. For this version, for NWU, again, you get a nice photo book along with the lyrics book and the digipack. I also just have the regular CD version as well. Now we have their United Shadows album, which they released last year. And along with 5 Go, This is probably also my favorite Japanese release from them, for multiple reasons. So this has a lot more harder rock songs, which I love. So Shadows is, I think, a great title track. It was my favorite song from last year, especially the live version, which they released on their Paradise single. But I really love Mystery 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, Champagne, Go Again, Reason. I love all these songs. And the other reason why this is one of my favorite albums I own is because I went to their fan signing, actually, when I was in Japan last year. So I did get to meet them briefly. And I also went to their United Shadows concert, which is the best concert I've ever been to. So this has a lot of sentimental reasons for it being my favorite, along with just, it has a lot of great songs I love. And there's the photo book, and then the digipack. And then I also bought the regular CD version here, and the CD DVD version B as well, mostly to get those application codes to attend their fan sign, which I'm still surprised I got in, to be honest. And then lastly, we have Planet Bonds, which is their latest Japanese full-length album. And this explored sort of a new sound, I would say, for their Japanese work. You do have some harder rock songs like Dancing On and Game, but most of these songs are much more uplifting and sort of, I want to say, Disney-esque, but not in a bad way. I've still found this album very enjoyable, though it's a lot different than what they've released previously. And so it also makes me curious if they're going to do something similar with their upcoming Korean album. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I did an unboxing of this album. I guess also United Shadows 2 on my channel. But just a quick flip through so you can see the photo book, the lyrics book, and then the digipack. Those are all of FTIsland's full-length Japanese albums, and if I had to rank them, I've already indicated that these two are my favorites, and then I would go with Rated FT. Is also a very solid album to start with if you haven't listened to any of their Japanese discography, followed by New Page, and then kind of torn between NWU, Planet Bonds, and 20, because these three albums are much different. So this has a much more kind of folksy, uplifting feel. 20 has a lot more slower songs, along with some more pop rock tracks. And then NWU is also kind of a mixed bag. You have some weird songs like Puppies, kind of weird. And then you have some more upbeat songs like Cycle and Time. And this one, I guess, is more varied. So I guess if you want to hear something a bit more varied when it comes to track lists, NWU's not a bad place to start as well. And then for the earlier stuff, So Long Au Revoir, I don't think will be the best place to start. I would say it would be interesting. I would say maybe check that out after you listen to their more recent albums. And then their Five Treasure Island album is also fun, but the songs on there are much more pop rock influenced. So if you really liked their Five Treasure Box Korean album, I would say this is a good album to listen to along with 20. But for harder rock albums, definitely United Shadows is the place to go to first, as well as FTIsland. They have a lot of harder rock songs on here. As you can maybe tell, FTIsland has a lot of variation in their Japanese discography, which I think is all worth listening to. kind of picking and choosing what your favorites are or where you want to start. I guess depends on what sort of rock music that you guys like. Alright, so briefly I wanted to go over some of their singles, since as I mentioned for their full-length albums, you really don't need to collect the singles unless you're interested in getting some bonus content. But song-wise, you're usually good if you buy all of their full-length albums to get most of FTIsland's Japanese discography. So I'm just going to briefly go over a few of these. I'm not going to touch base on every single one, just some of the ones that are slightly different. So starting with, I believe myself, so this is the earliest single I currently own. I'm missing their Prologue debut, I guess mini album, as well as the one single, the Raining single, and a few others scattered in here. But mostly for their earlier stuff, they either had just one version or they had a CD DVD and then just a CD version. It wasn't until Flower Rock when they started with all the other complicated versions. Flower Rock is also a little weird because this is the only time they actually had a box set. So they actually had this physical hard case box to store all three versions of the single. So they had, I believe this was the CD DVD version, and I think this is their calendar version, so it just has a CD and then some calendar cards, and then this is the CD only version. And what this is the Taiwanese press of Flower Rock. So for some of their Japanese releases, they actually had some really nice Taiwanese press things. So I showed you guys an example of their Taiwanese press Korean albums. So this is what the Taiwanese press Japanese stuff looks like. So it's not a jewel case, it's actually a folder that comes with some this sort of, I guess, folder in here, and it comes with a folded out poster, and I believe this is lyrics. So it's kind of nice packaging, I would say, or it's nicer than a jewel case in my opinion, which is why I'm happy to have this. I think they did something similar for Puppy, but I don't own that, as well as a few other ones. But Flower Rock is the one you usually could find on proxy sites. Another different thing that they did for their singles was for their Soda Day single. So apparently this is the 40th anniversary of their Japanese label Warner Music Japan. So I guess that's why they went with this special version. So for this version, it actually came with a little miniature figure. So I happen to have Sing Hands, which I will show. And the figures aren't that interesting. That's what it looks like. So really, you don't really need this. It's just, if I guess for collection purposes, if you wanted to have one of their sort of different releases, they had this. But for all their other singles, they tend to have at least 3 versions. Most of what I own is not all the versions. I only picked up 3 versions if they came in bundle deals, or I just got them really cheap, or if they have bonus content I really wanted. So for example, if you look at Shiwa Theory here, this is one of the CD DVD versions, as is this one. So one comes with live footage, which I think is always worth getting. If you really like live concert footage, I think FTIsland is at their best when they perform live. So that's why I try to make a point into getting these when I can. And then this version just has music video stuff and jacket making. And they also just had the regular CD version, which often for the first press came with a photo card. In addition to all these, they also began doing fan club versions. So I believe it was Matakan Future when they started doing these. So this is the Famima or Family Mart version that you could buy, and usually what's on them is everything that's on the regular CD and then a bonus DVD with some multi-angles. And if you don't know what a multi-angle is, think of it as just like a fan cam of a particular member, but this is like an official fan cam. So you could watch any one of the members during this set and just have the camera focused on them on part of the video. So those are always kind of fun to watch, since a lot of times when you're watching live footage from bands, they don't always focus the camera on the members who aren't singing. So I think it's kind of worth getting these if you're interested in, if you have a favorite member who plays an instrument. Other than that, I mostly just have a few CD DVD versions and the regular CD version. I think Distance. So this Distance did come with a special CD only version. They had one with jacket cards. So the one that's a little thicker had those. But the thing that you need to note, I think, especially for recent singles that they've been doing, is these recent singles is when they started including live songs as bonus tracks on their singles. So for example, Just Do It. Here I just have the CD only version and then the fan club version. So I don't have their other versions, which I should get. But as you see here, the CD only version has We Are from their Law of FTIsland concert. So it's a live version of that song. And then the fan club version, or the prima donna version, comes with Come On Girl from that same concert. So I really love live FTIsland, as I mentioned. So having these official live tracks, I think is well worth getting all the versions if possible. Paradise was the same thing. So I ended up getting 3 versions here. So for the CD DVD version, they have The Light in the Forest live, and then the other CD DVD version has Champagne live, and then for the regular CD version they have Shadows live from the tour. And I didn't mention this in the full-length album segment, but a lot of times for their Prima Donna fan club editions, you get bonus external things. So right now I just have an external bonus for Just Do It. So these came with these dry face masks of each of the members, but some of their other Prima Donna fan club external bonuses include like bracelets, like keychains, bear bricks. So there's a lot of different things out there. I haven't really started collecting those, so that's why I don't really own many of those things. And the last thing I wanted to note, when it comes to choosing which singles to buy, this singles compilation album, so it's called the Singles Collection, has all the B-side tracks that are not included on their full-length albums, up to Shiwa Theory. So all the B-sides that weren't on their earlier full-length albums are all compiled on here. So really you don't need these earlier singles if you're kind of debating on what you want to collect. And there's also other cool versions of this. This is just the CD only version, so it comes with 2 discs and also a trading card. And then quickly, before I get into their DVDs and photo books, Hongi also released a solo album. So in Korea it was called FM 302, and in Japan it was called AM 302. So for the Japanese version, I have the CD DVD version, which is similarly packaged to FTIsland's version A full-length Japanese albums. So the packaging is pretty nice. And you do get the same songs as the Korean version. just the Japanese versions. And there is a bonus track, Miss Xmas, as well as, of course, the bonus DVD, which makes it slightly different. And now we're on to DVDs, which I've said in many videos before are some of my favorite things in my collection. And so my collection is not extensive. They have so many more DVDs than, especially in Japan, than what I currently own. But I will go into the ones that I do currently have. I'm going to start off with the Korean stuff, which these two DVDs here are some of their oldest DVDs. So this is when Wonbin was in the group. Their first concert here, I have yet to watch, to be honest. A few of these I have not watched because I have such a backlog of DVDs and very little time to sit down and watch them. I've been trying to go through them slowly. So I will get to all these eventually. But most of the Korean DVDs will be region all, and they often have English subtitles. This one I don't think has any English subtitles though, so do be aware of that. And usually, especially for the Korean DVDs, they have nice photo books that accompany the concert DVD. So it's just clips of backstage things or their performances. And so that was their first concert. And then we have Rock Prince here, which is their, I guess, second live concert. And what's cool about this one is that in addition to the concert footage, you also get a live CD that accompanies it. So, as I mentioned before, I really love live FTIsland, so having some of their older songs performed live on an audio CD is a great treat. The photo book isn't as extensive as what you'll see in their other ones, but it's nice to have some old FTIsland to go back to. So you do have to be kind of careful if you are looking to collect their Korean DVDs. So a lot of times if you use Japanese proxy sites, especially for the more recent ones, you'll find them with region 2 DVDs instead of the Korean press region 1. So those won't have English subtitles at all. This Rock Prince one I usually see as a Taiwanese press, so it won't have English subtitles, and it'll be a region 3 restriction. So just be careful if you're looking to buy these. These are also recent DVDs I have yet to watch, and again come with a nice photo book in addition to CD. And what I really like about their Korean concerts is a lot of times perform the Korean versions of some of their Japanese songs, which is really interesting to see. Just goes to show how much FTIsland really enjoyed performing their Japanese songs in comparison to their Korean ones. Again, this is another early DVD, which comes with a photo book. And now we're going into some of their more recent ones. So most of these DVDs are out of print, so you're gonna have to find them used. So sometimes it's not easy to find them for good prices. Proxy sites are very helpful, but again, you have to be aware of the region code. So this is the Korean press one for their 2012 Korean concert. And again, if you just look at the track list, they perform a lot of their Korean versions of their Japanese songs. And this was the time when they had their 5 treasure box, so they did have those released officially. But not all of these were on board. And now this one is a little bit harder to find, I would say, compared to their other Korean DVDs. I think you could still find Take FTIsland New on Korean websites, along with The Truth. I think We Will has become trickier to find, though I did see Amazon Japan carry it, if anyone was looking for it on there. And I think Cape Town for You. But this one is a lot trickier to find the Korean press version. You can find the Region 2 one fairly easily, but Korean press one's a little bit more difficult to find. Same thing, you get a nice little photo book along with the DVDs. Ooh, mine did come with one of the teeth broken, so I tried to take its place, but it's not that successful. I have to be careful with that. And now moving on to their more recent ones, which contain songs from their Holy Trinity albums. So we will, it's my favorite concert, I think, from them when it comes to Korean ones that I've seen. They had this after they released their I Will album, and it was just a really significant concert for them to really just showcase who they were as artists in Korea. I did get this from M-Wave, so it is signed. And the Truth one was their latest Korean concert DVD. I'm really hoping their Every 10 Years concert will be released sometime soon. But the Truth is also really good to watch. So when it comes to choosing which Korean DVDs to go for, I do suggest We Will or The Truth as high priority, since these are the most recent ones, and honestly I just like the songs and the set list the most in comparison to their older stuff. Their 6th anniversary DVD is really great too. I love this one. I haven't seen some of the earlier ones. Take a Challenge, good as well. But really, I think if you go backwards, that's probably the best way to go about it if you are looking to collect these. So you may want to go with We Will first, since I think these are getting a little harder to find than The Truth at the moment. Now for Japanese concert DVDs, again, I think you can't go wrong with any of them. Just their whole entire Japanese discography is pretty flawless in my opinion. Especially all the releases from Flower Rock up to their latest Planet Bonds album. And I've been trying to buy their Blu-ray versions, since the quality is much better compared to the DVD ones, if I could find them for reasonable prices. But really, the DVD versions are fine too. I have 2 of their fan club versions here. So this is, I guess, the Family Mart one or Family Mem version. So the only difference really, I think it has some special feature is what usually is on here. And it did come with this kind of card wallet thing as a bonus. And then Law of FTIsland, I think, comes with some bonus interviews and footage, if I remember correctly. So if you are looking to buy their Japanese DVDs and you don't mind buying them used, definitely I think either getting the Prima Donna versions or the Blu-ray versions would be the way to go if you have a Region 2 DVD player or a Region A Blu-ray player. So I realized I forgot my 2013 FNC Kingdom DVD, which I recently acquired. So I was watching it, which is why it wasn't with my FTIsland things. But I have 2 of their FNC Kingdom DVDs, which I think are a lot of fun to watch. So you see some collaboration stages with different FNC artists, and then FTIsland usually has a pretty good set list on both days for the DVDs. So they do some of their Korean songs, like you see Praise on here, but mostly they perform their Japanese songs. And then Hongyi also performs some solo things. Similarly with their 2013 one, as you will see here. These are our special CDs, and so both of these contain the same track list actually, so it doesn't really matter which one you get. And there's one song from FTIsland that Hongyi wrote that is really good actually, and for a while there I didn't realize it existed, so I'm glad to have picked this up. And when it comes to recommendations for Japanese DVDs, really just go with whatever your favorite album was, and try to go for and try to pick up the corresponding concert DVD, because the set list will usually incorporate mostly songs from their most recent releases. I have all of my FTIsland photo books here. So they do have quite a few photo books that they've released in the past, more so in Japan than in Korea. So I'm just going to point out a few of these briefly. So on the left-hand side here are the Korean photo books I have. Both of these here were released after some of their Asian tours. So this was released in 2010, and this was after their 2012 concert. And there's just some really nice, colorful photos here. So this 2010 one mostly has some concerts, performance pictures, but there are a few kind of concept pictures as well. And the 2012 one is when I believe they were, I think in Europe. I forget exactly where. Let's see what it says here. Alright, it tells you exactly all the places they went to. So this was in Malaysia. You have some concert photos, Singapore, and then LA. And Bangkok, and Hong Kong, and I think maybe some other places in here. And I do like it when photo books do that, where they have pictures and they document exactly where they were taken. Both of these are recent requirements, and they're both photo books that only their Korean fan club could purchase. So this first one here, which I guess is just called their Prima Donna one, was, or for Prima Donna, was released in 2015 for their We Will concert, I believe. So you have some performance shots here in the first half, and then you're supposed to flip it over for more pictures. And there's some QR codes which have some interesting things you can look at. And then Over 10 Years is their most recent one. So they released this after their 10th anniversary tour. And there's just a lot of nice photos with some behind the scenes for their wind and jacket shooting, and just some more concert things, as well as some QR codes with some interesting footage you can watch on there. Now getting into the Japanese photo books, there's some earlier ones, like Another Story of Raining. So this just has some raining era photos, which I really like. So it's a nice little photo book. And then they have an artist book from I think 2009. And there's just, this was around their second full-length Japanese album, Five Treasure Island. So there's some jacket shooting stuff, as well as a lot of interviews. So this one doesn't have as many photos. It's very interview heavy, but there's still some nice photos in here. Now here are some making photo books that they released for a few of their Japanese tours. The earliest one I own is from their Hands Up Is Up tour. And so this, all these just contain, again, more live concert footage, shots, and then a making DVD. Similar with So Today. Nice glossy pictures, which I'm always a fan of in the making DVD. And we have Messenger. And it's kind of cool seeing their hair evolution, I guess. So, like the early days, they had a lot of long floppy hair. Some of the members are blonde sometimes, and I don't know, it's kind of funny to look back on it. Here they all wore these kind of ridiculous fake fur outfits. This comes with a making DVD as well, but it doesn't come with a band like the other ones. I am missing their Run 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 tour. I think that's the only one I'm missing for these making books. And now this is a tour brochure for their Freedom Tour. And I actually got this from K-Town for You, even though this is a Japanese concert. And so there's just a few photos in here, along with some interview. Thanks. My favorite photo book of theirs is definitely their Playground photo book. So they released this back in 2014. And this is a nice hardcover photo book with gorgeous photos that I love so much. And here's just a quick flip through of it. And then when it comes to collecting these, definitely the fan club photo books are the hardest to get. Mostly because they were just offered for the Korean fan base, so it's hard to find these secondhand, especially if you're shopping on Japanese proxy sites, which I think most people are doing nowadays if they want to get a hold of rare K-populated items. Other than that, their Raining storybook is also more difficult to acquire because it's so old. And some of their early Japanese things are hard to come by, especially just Raining in particular. That CD alone is really expensive to get secondhand, and so their photo book is similar in that respect. These are fairly easy to get, like both of these Korean ones, these making books, the artist making book, and I do see the Freedom Tour pamphlet pretty frequently as well. But if you only had to get one photo book, definitely I would recommend the Playground one. And then maybe my second favorite would be their 2012 concert photo book. And to end this video, I've assembled all of my top favorites from my collection here in this frame, along with my United Shadows cheering towel and light stick, as a reminder of some things that I highly recommend for any new or veteran FTIsland fan out there. And I would be very curious to know what some of your guys' favorites are. So do let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite albums are, whether from their Korean discography, their Japanese discography, if you have any favorite concert DVDs or photo books as well. I would be very interested in knowing, even if they're different from mine. But that was it for this long video. Thank you for watching, and I may do more collection videos like this in the future. Honestly, I don't know what groups I would do it for. I kind of want to go back with my 2 PM collection and do more of an album recommendation type video rather than just a strict album collection video. So I'm toying around with that idea at the moment, but if you guys have any suggestions, do let me know. And until my next video, bye guys.